Hi, I'm Rob Cram, and today we're taking a look at Calypso Media's crime-filled caper, Omerta City of Gangsters, which is available for Xbox and PC. The game provides two very different modes of operation, which are rolled into one as players start out as a wannabe gangster in the story, and work their way up through various neighbourhoods to the top. On one side, there's a managerial aspect which seems to hark back to Hamimont Games' Tropico series, and then on the other, there's a neat twist with some turn-based battling. The management in its own right is quite fun and offers players the chance to earn clean or dirty money whilst building up an empire. The game's sandbox mode is the best place to experience the entirety of what this offers, although it's certainly not as deep as the Tropico games. Players can set up business, then supply others, take over existing businesses, and when the heat gets too much, bribe the cops and pass the buck on to someone else. It's quite an easy process here, which isn't too taxing and filled with not so many random elements to cause headaches. The simplicity works within the story mode, but for the full-on sandbox, it's somewhat easy to establish oneself and then sit back and let the game do the rest. A lack of any goals here does make it less enjoyable. The story mode is a bit more forced and brings into play more moments where players can engage the opposition. The turn-based encounters, whilst enjoyable at first, do become quite a chore if you're more interested in story progression and making bucks. Luckily, there's an auto-resolve option which favours the player with the more henchmen under their wings and acts as a welcome way to quickly skip encounters. The problems with the encounters is the fog of war and general clunkiness of moving to cover, with no clear view of the surroundings takes away the tactical element. Where it works in games like XCOM, doesn't feel so comfortable here. The movement is also hit and miss, where cover does impact the combat, but rarely makes much sense, and let's not get started on the hit percent chances being way off sometimes. Omerta does look good with its top-down view, which can be panned and zoomed in at will, and with changeable weather and day and night cycles, it recreates a city vibe very well, despite being a little too dark at times. There's a good selection of colourful characters to mix and do business with, and overall the presentation and control is simple and well defined. More importantly, the transition to Xbox does work well, although if one was to complain, a further away viewpoint would have been more helpful for scanning the locale more quickly. Audio is of a mixed quality here, as the game's music, when stored to HD, would skip and repeat sections, which was annoying. This might have been our game, but if it's a wider issue then it needs fixing, save turning the music off completely, which would be a shame as there's some pleasant tunes to listen to. The voice acting is pretty good and makes for a likeable cast. Omerta is a time-consuming game, which might put off those looking for a bit more action. The slow pace of the game doesn't help and there's a lot of waiting going on. A speed-up function would have been really helpful here. Players who get bored of the story or the sandbox mode can try and play multiplayer, but expect low numbers of suitable playing partners unless you rope in a friend to buy the game as well. Gangster games aren't anything new on consoles, and when you have things like The Godfather adding management and action to the mix, it's a bit of a hard sell simply providing management and turn-based combat. For the subject matter, it's all a bit slow-paced and dull to satisfy one's inner gangster cravings. That said, if you enjoy the challenge of building up an empire, then this is a good place to start, although in the longer term, the simplicity might get the better of you. Omerta City of Gangsters scores an average 5 out of 10. I'm Rob Cram, thanks for watching.
That's some quality liquor. It almost makes me forget those dogs from the blasted revenue service who keep sniffing at my money.